The Winnipeg Jets just sent the NHL a serious message as they sent a statement beating the Florida Panthers by a score of 6-3. And following the Jets losing a couple straight games, they have a massive bounce back game on the back of a lot of different players. Mark Scheifele with the hat trick. We saw some crazy things happen at the end with Morgan Barron. We have a lot to go over today, folks. Before we get into it, quick reminder, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, we just hit 100 subscribers here on Jets Digest. We're on the road to 1,000, but for now, we're trying to hit 250 subscribers. So hit that subscribe button. If you're over at Hat Trick, hit the subscribe button as well. And come over to Jets Digest if you're a Jets fan and enjoying the Jets news. There's a lot to go over today. And again, thank you all for your continued support. What a game for the Winnipeg Jets. They just they beat the Florida Panthers. The score of 6-3. I think the game was a little bit closer than the 6-3 final score. So if you didn't watch the game, there were some interesting things at the end. But it came down to Mark Scheifele doing what Mark Scheifele has done all season long. Let's dive into the stats a little bit here. So you can see the box score. There's a lot to go over. You see, and again, if you didn't watch the game, you really had to watch this one to kind of understand it. But Morgan Barron Darius, he had 2 goals, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I want to start in talking about a couple of different things here. And most importantly and most prominently is Mark Scheifele. He put up a hat trick tonight, and really the usual suspects were the ones who kind of carried the Jets offensively in the form of Mark Scheifele and, of course, Kyle Connor. But Darius, against a very good Florida Panthers team, they have a good goaltender, they're good defensively, and they're great offensively. The Winnipeg Jets come back on the back of Mark Scheifele, who, for the record, scored on every single one of his shots besides one of them. He had 4 shots, and he scored 3 goals, so very efficient. And quite frankly, the Jets, I'm not going to say they fully dominated, but they dominated for most of this game against the Florida Panthers, but they came out with the win.
Yeah, the Jets were the better team for, large portions of this game. And, when you look at last game against the Florida Panthers in Florida, it was a bit of an embarrassing effort, an embarrassing game as well. So you want to come out and win this game. Like, this is almost a must win at this point. And they did exactly that. And Mark Scheifele, impressive again. And even after he scored the hat trick goal, which was a beautiful goal, by the way, like the setup from Kyle Connor was fantastic in front of the net, over for the one-timer, 2 one-timer goals on the power play tonight. And, he is now second in most hat tricks in Winnipeg Jets history, right beside Dale Hawerchuk, or right behind, I should say. So pretty impressive for Mark Scheifele. He's getting up there in the record books in Winnipeg Jets history as well. And it's the usual suspects again. It's the top guys come into play. And again, I thought that this was almost a must win. This was a revenge game, right? No perfect, at least you don't have to wait months on end to play the Florida Panthers again. It was a home and home. You get to play them right away in front of your fans, and another sellout tonight in Winnipeg. That's the 3rd of the season. So shout out to the Winnipeg Jets fans there for selling out the arena once again. But a great game from the Winnipeg Jets overall.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned they finally are, and again, they've been selling out a little bit over the handful of seasons, but 16-3 now the Jets improved to, and it's an interesting one. Again, the more you look at the box score, the more of an interesting game it was. And again, on the back of Mark Scheifele, you think about Connor Hellebuyck, he had a solid game, but he still wasn't. That's, again, you're going up against a very good Florida Panthers team, so as long as you win the game. But defensively, Josh Morrissey had a phenomenal game on both ends of the ice. He was obviously a +3, but looking at him, his defensive effort was great. He also put up 2 assists, and Darius, he played 26 minutes tonight, Josh Morrissey. So he was on the ice a ton, and he is the best defenseman. He's the the highest paid defenseman on the Winnipeg Jets. So he's that guy. He's the guy for the Jets. He's going to continue to be that. But it was interesting. And again, we even saw some minutes out of Hayden Fleury. And we've been talking a lot on this channel and, of course, on Hat Trick as well about how the Jets could potentially make a move for a blue liner. Of course, Ville Heinola, a lot of different conversations about that. I'm going to pronounce it right from now on. Ville, understood. I saw you all in the comments. But he obviously didn't get into the game tonight, and all signs are kind of pointing to him playing as soon as next game, maybe a little bit after that. But Darius, what did you see at the end out of Morgan Barron? And it was just a very chaotic last few minutes of the game, which ended up in a massive win, but it was an interesting one. But shout out to 4th liner Morgan Barron.
Yeah, Morgan Barron finally getting on the board. But to go back for a second, just to touch on something you said, Josh Morrissey, he's leading the way on defense. He's been fantastic so far for the Winnipeg Jets this season. Again, fantastic tonight. And in terms of Heinola as well, he's on a conditioning stint, so he's going to get games in here with the Manitoba Moose, and I think that's a really good thing. And will he play with the Winnipeg Jets? I think it depends on when Logan Stanley's ready to go. I keep saying it. If Logan Stanley's ready to go, I think that the coaching staff would rather that player in the lineup, whether Jets fans like it or not. But Morgan Barron, He was the only, coming into this game, the only Winnipeg Jets forward to not score so far this season, which is impressive in itself because there's a lot of other teams that wish they could say the same thing. But Morgan Barron with 2 goals tonight, and both of them on the empty net. It doesn't matter how they go in. It just matters if they go in. And one of them was really nice, actually, a bank shot. I wonder if he was watching some Austin Matthews highlights as well, because he was doing that last week or 2 weeks ago as well. So pretty cool stuff there to get on the board for his first 2 goals of the season, and it's a feel-good story. The only guy who hasn't scored on the forward group, and he's deserved it. I think he's been a bit snake-bitten, but he's been playing some really good hockey, so he deserved these 2 goals.
2 goals in under 9 minutes of ice time is an impressive feat, and it was interesting. You look at his most career hat tricks in Winnipeg Jets uniform, like you mentioned. Scheifele is at 9 behind Dale Howard-Chuck, and looking at the impact scorecard of this game, it's about what you'd expect. You have Mark Scheifele, just probably one of the best games out of any player for the Jets this season, maybe even all the NHL. Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey, like everybody you thought. Shout out to Game Velarde as well. I didn't give him too much. Again, I've been hyping him up a lot on this channel, but he had an assist, but he played really good on both ends, and especially for creating opportunities for that top line, which is something that he's continued to do all season long. And one quick thing, and again, like I mentioned earlier, the worst, again, no one had necessarily a bad game, but the bottom of this score impact chart is Hayden Fleury, which makes sense, the young defenseman. Do you have any thoughts? I know you just briefly mentioned about Ville Heinola, but the bottom 2 on this game impact scorecard is in the lights of Colin Miller and Hayden Fleury, which are the 2 spots that are most likely to change after the trade deadline or over the next few weeks here. It's interesting. I don't think he had a terrible game, but you can definitely see the experience of some of the other guys playing off more in this lineup on the blue line.
Definitely. And I think a lot of Jets fans might be looking at Heinola and being like, hey, maybe he should get in the lineup because Hayden Fleury, at least in terms of advanced analytics, was the worst player on the ice tonight, although he did some good stuff as well. But you know what? I think that, NHL experience goes a long way. And, if your 2 worst players on the ice are your 2 bottom defensemen, and, your 5th and 6th defensemen, somebody has to be last on the list, right? It was a good game for the Winnipeg Jets. So I think it's a good thing if you want to take that away from it. But you're right. Come trade deadline, I wonder if the Jets, if they're going to add, we talked about it a little bit as well. If they're going to add, it's going to be on defense. So those 2 spots could be up for grabs, maybe even a top 4 spot. I wonder if they go out and get a top 4 defenseman as well, right? And it kind of shifts guys down, like Dylan Sandberg, maybe he moves down. Although, him and Neil Pionk, they've looked pretty good together. So I don't know if I'd break them up, but there's much that could be done with the roster heading into the trade deadline. But yeah, Hayden Fleury, I think it was just something where he has some NHL experience. He's coming in obviously because of injury, and I'm sure Logan Stanley will get back into the lineup soon here, but we'll see what happens with Ville Heinola as well. I think a lot of Jets fans want this player to get a shot.
Yeah, a lot of news coming, and we'll keep you up to date with it here on Jets Digest as well as Hat Trick HQ. And quick shout out to Paul Maurice, obviously they played, either at home against the former Winnipeg Jets coach. Shout out to him. He's doing a great job over with the Panthers over the past few seasons. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on all this. And again, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. And if you're ever on Hat Trick, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying the daily NHL content as well as the Jets. Thank you guys for watching. See you tomorrow.